Welcome back to another DF Retro Let's Play. And perhaps it's a little different than expected. We're looking at the Philips CDi today, which is a system that I find supremely fascinating, but we just discovered some new games over the weekend, and by we, I am of course talking about my good friend, Audi Sorlie. Audi?
John, I'm scared.
You should be. So let's just get started here. So yeah, the CDi, it does have a bad reputation. It is a system I would like to examine more in detail in the future, but for now, we're going to sit back and play 3 or 4 games today, if you will. Starting with a rather infamous one. So this is a game that I hadn't actually heard of until 2 days ago. We went to a local retro fair, purchased some games. I came back with a decent haul. You came back with...
CDi games.
Yes. We quickly learned, however, that apparently the Angry Video Game Nerd has already touched on this game. And I can see why. This is perfect for that show.
Yeah, we should mention that, at that show, we just found a bucket full of CDi games, and I picked out games specifically that had screenshots on the back of gameplay. So we had never heard of any of these games, really, we soon discovered that it was quite infamous. But for us, it was a brand new adventure that we were undertaking.
Right. So the results here are such that I felt that we had to talk about some of these CDi games, especially Dark Castle here.
You just had to get it out.
I typically try to focus on doing more positive content. And, I'm still trying to give this a fair shake, but this is horrendous, this game. This is absolutely horrendous.
You're going to be working overtime to find much positive here. But we'll find something.
So, I guess we should begin with a little bit of history on this game that I've kind of looked up here. Mm-hmm. It does seem to have originated on the original Apple Macintosh in black and white. What's going on? This is not what I expected. So this is an old Mac game. It receives different ports, including a Sega Genesis / Mega Drive conversion. And that's actually kind of what spawned the idea to do this, because it turns out that the reviewer of the Mega Drive version back in the day in Mean Machines was none other than Richard Ledbetter,
who still
the
remembers
chief of Digital Foundry.
Yes. As many games as Rich has reviewed, he still remembers this game quite clearly, which surprised both of us.
Exactly.
And he was quite excited for this.
There we shoot. There's problem 1.
Yeah.
So,
These sound effects too are just...
The sprite work, everything about this.
So this is interesting though. I'm sure other internet reviewers have said this, but as we were discovering this for the first time here, this looks kind of like a shooter of some kind, like Space Invaders or Galaga.
Well, for this specific section, the way they place the bats.
So I'm wondering if they're trying to parody some other games here, or video games in general.
So there's some things going on here. First of all, yes, this was a Macintosh game. It was a higher resolution game originally on the Macintosh. Obviously, this is displayed at a lower resolution here on the CDi, just like the Mega Drive.
Look at his arm.
So the CDi itself lacks a lot of hardware features that were common in video display processors back in the day. You can't do smooth scrolling play fields. It doesn't have support for the typical sprites and tiles and all that. Mm-hmm. Everything kind of has to be done in software. So despite the fact that it uses a 68000 variant from Motorola, which is a great CPU, the system itself is not super well suited to playing games.
So it literally has nothing that helps it do video games like other consoles.
No.
His arm is something out of Evil Dead. It just has its life of its own.
Yeah, you pretty much just have to rotate his arm.
It's similar to one of my favorite games, John, called Cybernator or Assaulted Vulcan, like where you have to control the gun up and down.
That's right.
Credit where credit's due,
There, I finished a screen. That's amazing.
Yeah, this is the first. You're actually doing well today.
So one of the chief problems, though, and this is partially our fault. Now, this doesn't solve it, but okay, we're not actually using a typical gamepad for this because
we should have mentioned this.
Early CDi systems, I'm using a CDi 220, and it ships with this sort of weird remote thing. It's an IR remote. It would have been great for graphic adventure games, and there's a few of them on the CDi, but
not enough.
It is terrible for this sort of experience. Like, it just... look at that. It really doesn't work well. You're sort of smushing around this rubber disc in the middle here.
It's absolutely horrible. And this is the controller that came with the console. So
That's right.
this is what people would have been playing it with in, 93, 94.
Exactly.
So this is not us trying to make it worse than it is. This is us playing it as Philips intended.
Now, thankfully,
Thank you, Philips.
a friend of mine has a Super NES adapter in the works here for me. It's going to help a lot with CDI games. And there is an actual 3-button or 4-button CDI gamepad.
Similar to the Genesis controller.
And the problem, though, is that the original gamepads are quite expensive.
Yeah,
we're looking at $80 to $100 usually.
€100.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, yeah. I should mention that I spent like €100 on these games that we're playing, so...
You did spend a lot. But part of that is one of the games you actually got was a good deal.
It was a good deal. One of them.
But most of these are atrocious. So let's give this another shot.
I aim to have the worst game collection of all time, and I'm getting there. This game is helping me get there.
This is really something else.
Now I need to get the Mega Drive version, though. That's the sad part.
That version is honestly slightly better than this.
Yeah, we did, for a reference, we should say that we did play it for like 5 minutes. And yeah, it does control better.
Not supremely better, but it's still terrible.
Yeah,
worthy of its name. It looks
controller, man. It's just you have to claw it.
This kind of like sprite and this artwork is just the worst, though. Look at this stuff.
It looks like something a 5-year-old drew, and it's not even exaggeration.
Now, the original Macintosh game, it's not a great-looking game by any means, but it was on a very different platform. It was in high-resolution, black and white, monochrome, I guess. And
it's of the era of like the Mac.
Actually, I don't even think it was monochrome. It was literally black and white.
It's black and white. Yeah, as I mentioned, like the Mac Adventure games.
But it runs in a higher resolution, and you get more of the screen, or the map is visible on screen at any one moment, versus here where it kind of scrolls, you could say.
It's doing something. We'll try to identify what that is.
No.
Oh, I think he also right.
Let's see.
This delay too. When he gets knocked out like that, it's a good 15 seconds or so of him just doing that.
This is just...
Oh, you actually made the jump though.
No.
So the CDI controller we're using, it has that mushy joypad, and then it has the 3 buttons around it. So there's no way of holding it comfortably.
No. You really have to hold it like a remote.
Yeah, you have to hold it like you're strangling it, which I guess is fitting. It's the CDI, but... And then you have to do these button combinations.
Oh, come on. Really?
On the Genesis, you just push down to duck. In this version, you have to push up and the action button to duck, was it?
Yeah, you have to... But they're right on top of each other, and it's very mushy as a result, so it's almost impossible to actually...
This is not a game, John.
My goodness.
This is the trumpet that signals the end of times.
It is. Truly. Okay. Game over there.
It's interesting we mentioned Shadowgate here for the Mac Adventure, and this gate does look like the Shadowgate.
Let's try a different area. Let's go to play. We will play a new game instead of continuing from our save. Let's see what we can do here. Man, the artwork, though.
It is shockingly bad.
It is bizarre to me how so many of the games on CDI that feature sort of drawn artwork like this, they sort of go for this it almost looks airbrushed in a way, well, not here obviously.
No, this looks like a crayon drawing.
But a lot of artwork has this overly smooth rendered look where they sort of like draw the highlights into the tiles, and that was sort of a thing in the 16-bit era, but this takes it to the extreme, and it results in visuals that look rather cheap.
In fact, yesterday I was playing Roblox with your son, and I saw him drawing better than this.
Yeah, well, this is something. Here we go. So yes, let's walk down the stairs.
This area is...
Oh no, there's a rat there.
Yeah.
Oh, but he's gone. No, that was a bat.
Wow, just look at this.
Oh no! Oh, narrowly avoided death.
So we mentioned earlier that, graphic adventures would have been great for this console. It's really too bad. That would have been maybe its saving grace. Would have been a few LucasArts games or something like that.
Yeah, I think we were messing around with Beavis and Butthead in Virtual Stupidity yesterday, and that is a game that was apparently in development for the CDI at some point.
Do you think that would have saved the CDI?
No.
Its magical Beavis and Butthead port? But
This
would
is
have
not
at
going
least
well.
been one okay-ish game. But yeah, like a Monkey Island or something like that would have helped the system, I think.
Oh no!
Oh, the rats took you there. Wow, John, this is
Yeah.
like I come here, I spend my weekend with you, and all we do is play the CDI and Dark Castle on the CDI on top of it.
Don't blame me.
I
This is
bought
all
it.
you. You're
Well,
the
I
one
had
that
no
purchased
idea.
this game.
In that bin, you had all the. It was a bin full of CDI games, which I mentioned, and most of it was like Harrison Ford movies from the '90s, and
There was a lot of just
a lot of video CDs.
video CDs,
Yeah,
which was very. I was gonna say very popular content on the CDI, but I'm not
it
sure
was
that the
not,
word
no.
popular and CDI go together in any way.
Yeah, so we picked up basically the only things that looked like video games, and I guess this qualifies as a video game in its loosest sense, but
Debatable.
debatable. Just look at this. And look at the half frame animation on the enemy down there. It's not even a full frame, I'd say, because he's not moving his legs or anything. He's just shuffling half his body. This is like half a frame of animation.
This actually feels like a game written in some variation of BASIC.
Like on the Commodore or something. Wow, yeah, this is...
And I don't mean to insult BASIC either, because I love BASIC.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
This is just obviously very limited in what is being done here.
Lots of great MSX games are made in BASIC.
Oh boy.
So these bags you're picking up are rocks, I believe. Yes.
Yes.
10 rocks per bag. And you're gonna need them.
That's very accurate.
What is he doing with his hand? Yeah.
This is... Okay, so we're down here.
Yeah, the bonus is counting down as you're spending your time here.
No!
Oh, he shoots you as soon as he gets up. The game is such a joke.
Oh, this is the most frustrating thing. It does remind me somewhat of a terrible version of Signosis Barbarian, if you recall this.
Man, you were just insulted like a full generation of gamers right now.
Oh, it's the same concept. It's just
It
done
kind of
poorly.
is, you're right.
It's
Actually.
exactly the same concept.
Just done horribly.
Yeah, it does not work. Okay.
Yeah, the CDI is a console that I love a lot, and it hurts me a lot to say that, but it's a fun console to collect for until you get games like this.
Well, it's a fascinating machine, is the reality.
And you did mention that we're both kind of wanting to do some content based on the CDI in the future, so...
It's true.
And we had to get this game, right? The
Oh,
crown jewel.
we didn't
the
even
CDI
know
library. No, we did not know
what this was. What?
Also, fittingly, the game that the copy I got is held together by tape. So.
I hate this game. My goodness. Like, you get too close to the wall and it...
And the wall knocks you out, and the ground knocks you out, and the enemies knock you out. Everything is hurting in this game.
This is really bad.
This is
I
terrible.
could totally go for a round of Alfred Chicken right now.
Oh, John, don't say that. But I guess one more round in the different door so we can see another section of the game.
Yeah, let's try one more area, and then we're going to switch to the next game, the CDI.
It's going to be a breath
Pantheon.
of awful air, but let's go for it.
There is some stuff coming up, to say the least.
There it is.
Back to the Great Hall.
We've been there so many times. Yeah, look at that. That is
What is this
Castle
central one?
Shadowgate. That's the Black Knight, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah, we did look at the tutorial before we... Yeah, Black Knight 1. Can you just go to the last boss? This is like Yooka-Laylee.
That's
Impossible Lair. You can just go to the final area right away.
Well, this doesn't look difficult at all.
You died, John,
Wow.
because you existed... Wait,
Wait, you fall into Trouble 3?
3. Is this like a maze?
So you skip ahead.
Yeah, see, he came down the trash chute.
Yep.
Much like the game will after we stop recording this. Okay, so there's a guy whipping people there. In his underpants. It's kind of like visiting John, actually.
I just
Wow.
noticed that with the increased complexity of this area,
Yeah,
the
the frame
performance
rates.
is worse.
Wow. Well, it is pushing the CDI to its limits.
I mean, Philips made some very puzzling engineering. Ugh!
Wow, look at this.
Move! I hate this controller. Good lord, just move.
It's IR controller. People need to realize you have to point it directly at the console, and it has to like synchronize perfectly. It's like lining up the lasers from like Congo.
Also, my thumb genuinely is starting to,
Oh, we both had bleeding thumbs yesterday from playing the CDI.
not literally, but it felt that
It
way.
was like red and swollen. Like even I still have a sore on mine. So yeah, we're not exaggerating. Why is he whipping those people? Are you supposed to save them? This is like a Blackthorn.
Oh,
This game is so much like every other game that's good.
this
Just
is
not
one
good
of the
itself.
most difficult games to control that I've ever played.
Okay, so let's go down because I am seeing like a switch there, and it's a lot of interesting things. I would like to know. Can you reach down? Okay, so you cannot kill him with your rocks. If you touch him, you're probably gonna die. Of course.
Yes.
Wow, this game.
No, he's
No,
just,
you're
he's
not
just
dead.
dizzy.
So you can pick up the keys. What is he doing?
It's running slower.
There's probably an action button combination. It's probably mushy button number 1 and mushy button number 3.
Well, there's only technically. Well, you're right. There's 3 buttons, but
There are
only
3
2
buttons.
actions.
Oh, so the bats just stopped in front of you. That was nice.
Look how. Oh, it's-
You're not gonna. Oh, wow. Okay. Wow.
okay, breathe.
It's hard to.
This really is
This
just.
game just makes you want to hold your breath until you can't see anymore.
See, the problem here is you need to press up and down to aim your arm,
Yes.
but when you're near the stairs, he wants to go up and down the stairs instead.
Castlevania problem, right?
Only
Another game that.
compounded significantly. Okay. Okay, now aim the arm. Ugh!
Wow.
Oh, this. Okay, that's it. I'm done with this. This is just.
Normally, I'd say I'd like to try, but you know what? You can turn this game off.
You get the next game.
I'll get the next game.
Although we could always try with it. So we actually have 2 controllers for this.
Yeah, we'll insert some footage of these controllers.
So one of them is this rubbery disc, and the other one looks like an analog stick, but it's really just a slide pad.
I really don't
But
want
the
that.
plastic piece on the top actually rotates.
Yeah, it
it
rotates.
rolls. So when you put your thumb on top of it, you just kind of roll right off.
And the buttons are around it in like diagonals.
Mm-hmm.
It's so horrible.
I like how they say action button,
But not there's
as if it
no-
implies that there's some sort of action happening here. Okay, so
Well, you
unlike
did make-
many systems of its day, you can just hit the open button on your CDI.
And
Et voila, you have.
you can also dim the screen on the screen here.
oh,
very cool.
Great feature. That's useful for playing.
Now, while we're changing games, let's also mention the most notorious issue with CDI, because we're seeing the word memory here, and I would like you to explain to the people.
That's right. So
Memory.
the CDI hardware uses a timekeeper chip, as it's called. It's an IC with a small battery inserted into it, and this battery is what's basically saves this data. Now you got to think about this. This is a battery embedded within a chip.
Chip, yes.
So solving this problem has resulted in some interesting solutions from the community, including dremeling open the chip to remove the battery and then connecting leads to it so that you can install a new battery connector. Technically, you could insert a new timekeeper chip, but due to the age, I guess, and where you source it from, the battery may already be dead anyways.
Yes.
You're just like... so it's a slightly challenging problem to solve. Several other modders have done it much better, of course, but it's not a simple user fixable issue.
It's truly the console of the future. They just didn't think about the future.
So go ahead. So this is Micro Machines from Codemasters.
Yeah,
this is a game that was released on just about every console under the
Every
sun
console, yeah. And
back in the day.
were you familiar with this series before?
I was familiar with its existence, but I had never really spent a lot of time with it in the past. But
So I had the NES version, which most famously has music by Matt Gray of Last Ninja fame. Or
That's
Last
awesome.
Ninja 2. Good music, yeah.
we actually went through and checked out some of the other versions as well, and they actually have the same artwork here in the menus.
I think the Mega Drive version had a black background.
Instead
that
of
was
blue.
The only, yeah, that was the only difference.
Super NES also had blue. And at this point, there's smooth scrolling. Everything seems the same. Our expectations were that, okay, this is looking all right.
Yeah.
We were just waiting for the other CDI shoe to drop, which seems to happen every single time.
Oh, it always drops. Both shoes drop. So,
And, well,
yeah.
it's about to happen. So first of all, it starts with this weird CGI thing. Wait for it. And...
yeah, this is said to be the special edition of the game, and special edition means this.
So there
This
you go.
is.
Well, there's two things.
There's two things, yes.
Well, before we get to that, though, check this out. As soon as it starts to move, you're like, uh-oh.
Wow, yeah.
So this is when I really started wondering about, okay, what's going on with the CDI hardware? It does have a powerful CPU, and as I mentioned before, though, the problem is that the video display chip basically lacks most of the basic functions that competing systems of the time could support. This system plays video, that's about it. It does video very, very well, but that's it.
Yeah, like Thunder in Paradise looks great.
It does. It looks like a TV show. Though that has the MPEG-1 card inserted.
The DVI card.
Or the digital video card, sorry.
The DVC card, you're right.
So, look, we kind of looked up the legacy here, and the folks that worked on porting this to the CDI, these are guys that knew how to program. They did some great work.
Oh,
all the other versions of this game run at a smooth 60 frames per second, complete with parallax scrolling for the layers beneath the surface on which you're racing, and this includes Game Boy and NES.
Yes.
Very, very smooth sprite rotation. Everything looks fantastic on this.
This game was known as a good game.
Yeah, exactly. But then you get to CDI, and the frame rate's basically 20 frames per second, though in this case we're playing the PAL version, so this is going to be 17 frames per second or so. So it's very, very choppy for an overhead 2D game. Not to mention that's just awful.
Yeah, and this game looks almost identical to the NES version. This is not free to this.
There's definitely more color happening.
But it's all smudged. I'd say that the NES version actually looks better.
Perhaps. You can definitely see, though, there is an increase in the color depth in the artwork. But it does look rather similar to every other version. The only thing that really separates this, besides everything else, is it really comes down to issues with the frame rate, but there's the music. And the music is kind of a big one.
Yeah, listen to this music.
And this is the only version that we've found that actually seems to have music.
It is the only version with music we should mention in-game. Like, the menus and such have music, as mentioned by Matt Gray and other people.
But not in
the race.
This one, however, has music in the race, but nothing else. There are no sound effects.
There's no sound effects.
It's just music.
It's a trade-off. I mean, CDI just couldn't handle sound effects.
Also note, we've been playing with this for a while, and you seem to be doing better than usual.
Well, I've been practicing on controlling. Yeah, so again, we are controlling this game, a racing game, with the remote, the mushy remote.
So I think one of the problems that we faced with this, with the way this game works, is it sort of looks for a constant input from the controller.
Yes.
And because of the IR nature, if you point it slightly off and you're still holding the button, it seems to stop registering a press.
So there's two issues, yeah. There's that, and it doesn't like multiple inputs. In a racing game, generally you have to hold acceleration and control. This will become an issue in the next few levels, as you'll see very quickly. It is baffling, isn't it? This whole thing.
It's really supreme.
So while we wait for the next race, there's an interesting thing about Micro Machines that you mentioned yesterday. Micro Machines 2 and Micro Machines Military, I think, on the Mega Drive, they actually have controller ports on the cartridge.
That's right.
Do you remember that?
Yes. Just to add support for 4 players, I believe.
The Super Nintendo has the multi-tap
support, yeah.
This game only supports 2 players, but only if you have a controller and the wand here.
So you can see there an issue that one pattern to the right of the table.
Yes.
Whoa, is supposed to use parallax scrolling right there on the
Yes.
other versions. And it seems to be completely absent here. So there's no sense of depth.
No, it just looks like texture outside of the table there.
Yeah, see, the idea is that you're on a raised table, and
Yeah.
the floor below moves at a slower rate to give you that impression of depth. And this is an effect, as I said, that was also available on the original Game Boy. So the fact that it's not here, you know, it's not surprising knowing how the CDI, or at least having a basic idea of some of the CDI's issues, but it's... Oof. This is really something else.
Yeah, so my inputs are not being registered most of the time, by the way. So this will be...
It's just not responsive enough with this. I suspect with the actual gamepad this would be much more playable, but the problem remains it can't handle a scrolling playfield at a high frame rate, so it's a
No.
very choppy experience. And it's really just a matter of, this is the kind of game that demonstrates that the CDI itself is not well suited to actual games.
Video games?
It really isn't designed for it, and it wasn't. It was originally marketed as a sort of a multimedia edutainment video machine.
Right.
That also played compact discs. It was, you know, the next level of the compact disc format. Games were kind of a fun bonus. Eventually, Philips tried to recenter on games. They didn't really succeed with that. So a lot of the poor games on the system, it's not really just the fault of the developers. It's really the system itself is not well suited to games. But that's not to say that there aren't some other issues as well.
Oh, there's many.
The problem, see, as I see it though, as we said, we mentioned graphic adventures. There's a lot of different types of games that existed at the time, especially on PCs,
Oh, did you see that?
that would have been suitable to the CDI system. Where, okay, you have static screen graphic adventure games with a cursor. The CDI can handle this, and it does so. This is the type of game that would have potentially made an impact. This system can't compete with the Mega Drive. It can't even compete with the NES in terms of offering action games. It's just not capable of it.
But yeah, like if it had graphic adventures or like, you know, Shadowgate, say it had the new version of Shadowgate on
Sure.
here, would have been perfect.
I think it would have been more fondly remembered with more games like that.
Yes.
It did get things like Myst, of course, which were very popular, The Seventh Guest and the like. There was stuff like Burn Cycle, which is actually rather
is pretty-
entertaining and fascinating for an
pretty good,
FMV game, but again, it's fairly limited overall.
Also has Laser Lords.
Yes, it does have
Fantastic,
Laser Lords.
Laser Lords.
I think after this race, though, we should move on to the next game.
That is fine. I would like to not play this game anymore. I have
you
been
did it.
practicing though, so
You
I
did-
was
you
dying
did
left
so
and
much
right.
better.
Yes, because I
And the-
know now that the input is not being registered, so I stop accelerating.
Okay,
at a certain time.
and also you have to be very careful with pointing it at the CDI player while being
Yes.
very conscious of the inputs that you're pressing on the controller. Otherwise, it sort of drifts off in one random direction.
Yeah, I look like the worst Harry Potter cosplayer playing this game because I'm sitting here with the wand just like sticking
yep.
towards the CDI.
Okay, well, another CDI game finished. So let's move on to the next one. And this one, this is one of the more technically competent games I've seen yet, and one of the only examples of smooth scrolling on the system that I found anyway. Which is, knowing about the system, this is extremely impressive, but this also has a very CDI presentation, if you will.
Yes. So we shall play
Let's
the
begin.
CDI.
The next CDI game is up. This one is called Demo's Quest. Now, the thing about Demo's Quest, on top, it comes down to the voice acting. That's all I can say. So we have to get ready for this.
I didn't want to say anything, but yes.
I'm waiting
We
this
should
after
mention
these
though,
logos.
this company seems to be the most competent. Vision Factory,
Yeah,
they did this Apprentice and Lucky Luke.
that's right.
Were 3 fairly good games
Well, yes, I mean,
for the CDI.
they were reasonably competent for the platform. He should be on screen any moment. Yep.
Hi, I'm Daimo.
Yeah.
Do you like candy as much as I do?
Phew.
Well, I'm gonna take you on a candy.
It's I'm quite uncomfortable. All right, so we shall input our names here.
Let you take control on this one. Notice how the visuals are displayed in a small window. It's very Amiga-like to have done
Yes.
that, but I think that's just it's sort of a limitation of the hardware again, where
Yeah. So the concept here is that you have to eat all the candy. You're walking around this grid, and have to avoid dangers. There will be more puzzle elements later on, but for now it's just enemies and candy all over screen.
Yep. But you notice the key visual feature on display here is actual smooth scrolling, reasonably smooth anyway.
Oh no, we have to hear him again.
Here he comes. This stuff, man.
Hi, I'm Gmo. I'm 30 years too old to be making this voice. Alright.
But yeah, this is something.
Radical, dude.
This is pretty radical.
It's like my grandpa trying to be cool. Or me trying to be cool for that matter.
Green.
Okay.
So here it's all the green keys.
Yeah, you have to use a series of keys to open the doors.
Right, so let's see if we can do this. So I have a yellow key.
Yep, sit down there, get another green key.
Alright, next green doors.
There you go.
Got a blue key.
This is moderately impressive then when you consider the hardware capabilities. So you have a blue key which can open what?
And blue doors there, so there's a red key down.
Red.
Oh, was that a blue key?
Yes.
Oh, it's like-
yeah. So there's a bit of shimmer on the screen here, so we're having a little bit of trouble seeing the colors.
Okay, yellow.
Yeah, so that's up there.
Oh, it's like a silver key.
Yeah, I guess so.
There you go.
So yeah,
Up
it's
there.
up there.
Red.
All right, so I think we got it now. I think we're smart enough to be playing this game.
Red.
Yep.
So this is apparently Demo's quest to eat all the candy.
Eat all the candy and get
Hey,
very
you're not
uncomfortable
so bad
between each
after
stage.
all.
Okay. Yeah, so this game isn't bad. I mean, there's nothing special to it either necessarily, but for the CDI, it's certainly an interesting game, isn't it?
Yeah, actually,
Red.
this one is somewhat reasonable.
You see the background there too?
Yeah.
So, I guess a game like Micro Machines could have been done if just more time or
Yeah, exactly. More familiarity with. I think they had a very short schedule.
Red.
So, you know, I'm
Yeah.
sure it was a small team as well.
Red. Yellow.
Ashley Hobbs, was it?
Ashley Hogg did
Hogg,
the.
that's right. Ashley Hogg did the port.
Yes, he did the port for the CDI for Micro Machines. I should
Yep,
say.
yeah. Exactly.
This controller, man.
It's the controller.
Yeah. It's suddenly.
You could just go straight to the exit, though.
I cannot, because you have to get all of the candy first.
Won't let you in otherwise.
No.
Red. Yellow.
Wait, is the
Have you never played Demo's Quest,
is,
John?
is the? I think the exit. It's a red cross, isn't it?
Is it?
Go
Let's
take a look. We'll find out in a second. Oh boy.
Got it. Got the money. Let me go back up here. Can't see much because of the
Yeah,
sun
see-
glare. Yeah.
You fell.
Oh, it pushed down.
No, it's because the tiles.
Oh,
break.
the tile. Okay. Yeah, sorry. There's
See
this.
if you can walk right to the exit.
Yeah, but it won't unlock until you have all the candy.
You sure?
Yeah, I can show you. Now I will die anyway, though.
This is.
So yeah, give this a try, John. And see how the
Red.
controller suddenly just sends you flying off. Oh, be careful. So there's the stone there that goes up and down there, you see? You have to time your...
Red.
Yeah, but he.
He didn't fall down. He just died. Oh, wow.
Red. Yellow.
John is playing this like there's no tomorrow. Oh, see?
Yeah.
There's like an extra input that comes in
Red.
Yeah, this doesn't play well
on that controller.
on this controller.
Red. Yellow.
Yeah, Vision Factory is an interesting company. So it seems to have been a Dutch developer, which
Makes
makes
sense.
sense. Philips, the Dutch company. And yeah, we were playing a few of their other games. We'll probably do more on them in a later episode of some kind.
Red.
But yeah, Lucky Luke was an interesting game from them.
Very low frame rate though.
Yeah, I think The Apprentice for me is the most
Red,
interesting
yellow.
game they did. It has a vague connection to an Amiga game called The Apprentice, which had music by Chris Hulsbeck.
Wow.
So I don't know if it has a connection, but it's the same type of character and same sort of idea. So I'm just gonna go out and say that it's loosely based on it.
Okay.
Oh,
There we go.
You got it?
Oh, radical, dude.
Radical.
Very radical. It's a word that you really should be coming back into use, I think.
Yeah.
Teach the kids.
Like that said Nomo Penny? Peony?
No more painting.
I'm not sure.
Oh man, we're just losing our minds here. Yeah, so this is weird. Okay, you have to actually pause the game now and restart. We'll do this level and hopefully turn this game off. Yeah, so you restart. So before you go anywhere now, you
Yeah.
see there's a vacuum cleaner on the bottom of the screen here. You have to control that vacuum cleaner tile by tile with these arrows, but you have to avoid the enemies. See?
Oh,
Yes.
I see.
So now you have to go to the left and then, you know. Yeah.
Well, this is fascinating.
It's, yeah, no.
Oh,
Now
that
we
was
have to
an,
restart.
oh, that was an enemy. Okay.
Yeah, that was an enemy.
Wow, so their solution to this is you actually have to go to the pause menu and hit restart rather than just restarting
it's
you.
not great, but I mean, you get to see demo. It's very interesting color palette, or like it
very
has like
CDi.
a smudge coloring here.
It's very
interesting.
CDI.
Yes, the Lucky Luke and Apprentice have the exact same art style. There is an Asterix game on CDI as well, which is a board game that came out on PC as well. I'm saying this only because I'm a huge fan of Asterix.
Okay. So go up. I mean, this is kind of clever, right?
Yeah, this game is okay, but it doesn't need to be on the CDI necessarily.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't benefit from being on the CDI.
Okay, so we get that. So Demo's quest is to navigate using. Oh,
No, it's fine. You go to the exit. You got all the candy.
there we go.
Yeah.
Hey, that actually worked. It's like using a Roomba.
Hey,
navigate
you didn't know
Yes.
that after all.
Which
This is
didn't
where the
exist at the
idea
time.
came from. The Philips Roomba.
Thanks, Demo. I like how his outline slightly intersects with the red box where the
Yeah,
password's
you're right.
shown. It's very
Very
high
interesting.
quality. Okay, let's see what's next.
This is probably one of those games that has like 100 levels, I would guess, because these are very simple.
Yeah, probably 100 levels.
I guess it's a little bit like Chip's Challenge. I never actually played much Chip
Green.
Challenge, but it looks kind of similar, no?
Yeah, it does. It's that type of game.
Yeah. Right, so here you need those keys, and the ghost is kind of...
Red,
Oh, there you
red.
go.
Okay.
Okay, so now we can walk on water, because you have the...
Oh, so he turns. Okay. I didn't think this was gonna get religious, but there you go.
Oh, yeah.
That's how it is when you
Nice
play
going,
the Philips
man.
CDi.
It is very much a religious experience. One of the more negative ones, but yeah. We did already reference the Four Horsemen, so...
That's true.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
this is where I got to last time I was playing this, because I do play this quite often. Yeah, so you have to roll these rocks onto. Yeah, now he's not gonna die. Yeah, so you have to roll them on top of these gators and kill them.
You know what? I say we move on to the last game.
Oh, by all means, the faster we're done with this, the better.
Okay, one more game to go. How is this one pronounced?
I guess Kefir?
Kether,
Or
Keither.
Kefir, yeah.
It's something, alright. Let's see what happens.
So we're playing the CDI on a beautiful PVM, and actually the PVM is on top of the CDI.
That's
And the
right.
unit is so big and bulky that it actually
It
withstands
supports
the
it
weight.
nicely.
I remember us trying to lift this thing, and it was so heavy. But the CDI is no issue. This is Infogrames, which is also the people who published all those Asterix games back in the day.
Yeah,
Still around
Infogrames
as
published a lot
Atari.
of things, yeah. Okay,
Yeah, so very much a French developed game. Should pick English down.
we can switch to English.
To discover the universe.
Here we go. New game.
So yeah, this game is quite interesting. Gave it a spin the other day.
Oh yeah. So maybe this one, let's see what this is about.
Yeah, please explain the plot to us, John.
I can't. This is actually, maybe this is the prequel to Rez.
This is where that came from.
I mean, this may not have the quality of Laser Lords, but it's up
Very
there.
few things do.
Very few things do.
I guess Alice in Wonderland comes close, being from the
does.
same developer.
That's right.
Yeah, those games we will get to one day.
Okay. Here we go.
I feel like Patrick Stewart should be narrating this game. Yeah, so Kiefer? Kater?
Kater, actually, that's a good point. It could be that as well, couldn't it?
So there's lots of blocks and shapes flying around in space,
Yeah, with a nice bump map on there on this pre-rendered CGI.
which still is not playing in 60.
Well, it wouldn't.
No, I guess it's 24.
You can't really do 60 frames per second video playback on a CDI.
That's true.
Okay.
This has
still shots.
yeah, fade motion
Whoa.
here. This is the same that Zelda game did. Zelda Adventure, was it?
Yeah.
They also used these sort of cutscenes where just
that was the
fade
one
motion.
not sourced to the Russian company for
Yes.
animation.
Yes,
'Cause there's
animation
three of them.
magic.
Yeah, animation magic.
Wow, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we're getting somewhere here.
This is, yeah.
Looks like what's his name, Dural from Virtua Fighter.
Her name, yeah.
Oh,
Dural.
yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, but now it's... Okay.
And there's also like Easter Island head there.
Mm-hmm.
So is this game actually made by Konami? Oh man, being born.
It's sort of,
egg.
I guess, it's almost like a slideshow. It's very distracting.
Around Ketha activated.
Great voice acting as always.
It's a lot of carbon monoxide. Alright, with Jim Power, go to the rescue.
Yeah. It does look a bit like Jim Power. Whoa.
Wow, okay.
Okay. I'm not entirely certain if I was selecting this. Ooh, the interface, though, updated at a smooth frame rate.
Yes.
It's unusual.
Oh, you're controlling it now.
Not yet. Oh,
Wow, look at this.
that's right. This was this one is actually okay. That's the pause button. Just trying to figure out if there's actually okay. There doesn't seem to be an action button.
Should be.
Okay, so this is interesting then. This is better than I expected. So all you're doing though is you're manipulating this ship around with this awful controller, trying to dodge things. But it's a full motion video background with collision information on certain parts of the screen. It's actually kind of a neat idea, I think.
Yes, this is similar to like Pyramid Intruder on the 3DO, I suppose.
Yeah, the Laserdisc game.
The
from
Laserdisc
Taito.
games.
Okay, so
Which, again, I mean, for the CDI, this is the kind of game you should be doing, I guess. 'Cause
yeah,
This can actually...
at least the ship moves smoothly.
Exactly, yeah.
Even if it's difficult to play with this controller.
I do think that the CDI has another game like this, Chaos Control, which is sort of popular. I've only played it on PlayStation, but I do know it originated on the CDI.
There we go. It'd be interesting to see what their collision data looks like here, like how they did, you know, streaming along to know what you can and cannot hit in the full motion video. It does have that weird mismatch that you get with Sylpheed on Sega CD, which also pairs full motion video backgrounds with sprites,
Right.
and they run at a higher frame rate versus the video backgrounds, which are obviously much lower.
Oh, that's health. Yeah, Starblade also uses FMV, doesn't it?
Only the home conversions.
The home version.
The actual arcade game is rendered in proper 3D.
Right. I remember there was something funny like that.
Yeah, I was disappointed when the PlayStation version was also FMV, because I feel like that's the one platform they could have actually delivered
Right.
the original game on.
That was one of the first games on the system, though. So
Yeah, it was very early.
could have been some...
But still, Namco was kind of pushing the boundaries early on.
maybe they just lacked the resources or manpower at the time.
Okay, so this game, I mean, it's interesting. This is more interesting as a game than most of what we've seen today.
Emperor of Light will speak.
It's a very simple idea, though. I can see why this would have impressed. It feels very CD-ROM, if you will, like
Yeah, it feels like that.
multimedia.
It feels like very much like a European PC game from 1995, 94.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, it's kind of a neat idea, though. It's like sort of riffing on the Star Fox concept, or maybe it's like Rebel Assault.
Yeah, I was thinking Rebel Assault.
I'm surprised they didn't attempt to port Rebel Assault to the CDI.
It's very. Yeah.
Then again, I mean, it's pretty clear that there wasn't much business in the CDI space. And I'd imagine most of these games were funded by Philips, or Philips, you know, offered reasonable deals to companies if they brought something to the CDI.
Yeah, it seems like most of the games we do pick up have a Philips POV attached to it, which is
Exactly.
one of their studios. So
Right, so not too surprising, honestly.
it was like them, Vision Factory, and a few other people.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah, this is very interesting. Happy about this pickup. Finally, an actual game.
Yeah,
This seems like it would be more fun with a proper controller and some
precisely.
time.
It's still a rail dodger,
Yes.
but okay, well, I think that gives us a pretty good idea. This is some simple CDI fun, if you will.
I'd like to come back to the system in a later episode.
Yeah,
doing some
perhaps
stuff.
so. Perhaps so. For now, though, I think that's going to wrap it up for this random assortment of CDI games. Overall, today's selection, not great, as expected. But
Was it worth the €100 we spent on all these games, John?
You tell me. Are you pleased with your purchase of Dark Castle?
I think I have to call my family and explain a few things.
Yeah, that's kind of about right. But if you enjoyed this video, though, as always, be sure to let us know by liking, subscribing, follow us over on Twitter, and of course ring the notification button and all that stuff. And until next time, this is John and Audi signing off and staying retro. Perhaps too retro.
A little bit too much retro today.